Our next guest is from a world-class organization, an entity that does great work on energy research, the Energy and Environmental Research Center. And we actually have a couple of guests from EERC today on different topics. First one is Wes Peck. Wes is the principal geologist there. Wes, nice to have you. How you doing?
Doing great, Scott. How are you?
Wonderful. I saw a story recently. Amy Dalrymple wrote it for the Bismarck Tribune about a study aiming to determine the feasibility of underground carbon storage. And I thought, you know what? It's been a while since we've talked about that. Maybe we ought to dig into that a little bit and find out what's going on. I know you have a study underway and some exploratory wells underway. Give us an update on this project and what your intentions are here.
Yeah, no, we're definitely underway with our project. We have a exploratory well that's being drilled right now, just a couple of miles north of Golden Valley, North Dakota, be northwest of Beulah. And we hopefully be at that site collecting our scientific data for the next, 10 days or so. We'll be at that site. And then after the first of the year, we're going to drill a similar exploratory hole south of the center, North Dakota. So we'll be all over the place in the heart of coal country. And as part of a larger feasibility study that's backed by the federal government and the state of North Dakota, along with cash and in-kind contributions from the lignite industries and power generation industries within the state. So there's a lot of interest from the state and local entities in what we're doing. And it is to look at the feasibility if it was turned out to be a business plan that looked viable to store captured CO2 in the deep subsurface and central part of coal country. And most likely as a place to put CO2 that we don't eventually sell to western North Dakota, which is really what we're hoping at the EERC, that a number of our projects can make that become a reality. And that is moving North Dakota CO2 over as a commodity to produce more oil from western North Dakota.
Yeah, this is where the two industries connect, because the coal industry, 800-pound gorilla in the room, is carbon emissions, right? And it's seen as this detriment and a reason why you don't want to use coal. But if you could capture it and then use it in the oil industry, you take something that is a byproduct of coal that's bad and now use it to get more oil out of the ground, more oil out of the rock for that side of it. And man alive, talk about a perfect storm. And from the first time somebody mentioned that idea to where we are today, is this continue to kind of test out and be feasible? I mean, worthy of additional investment in these different studies? I mean, how confident are you this can ultimately happen? Oh,
very confident indeed, especially going after the low-hanging fruit first. Our older legacy fields in western North Dakota, those oil fields that were keeping North Dakota going before the Bakken, they're in great need of some CO2, and to push them to production values that they haven't seen since their heydays back in the 70s and 80s. And that CO2 will help them get back there again.
Walk me through that scenario where you'd use it for an old well. Now you're using enhanced recovery there. Do you still have to store it?
It would be captured from some power plant there in coal country, moved through a pipeline to western North Dakota, where it would be injected into the subsurface to help to mobilize oil that is kind of stuck behind. And in the process of doing so, that oil that comes out will come out, and the CO2 will get left behind. So you end up storing it in the long run anyway.
I see. So and then any excess can also be stored.
And any excess we stored also. That's the CarbonSAFE project that we're looking at right now, is what you might do with the excess that isn't used in the oil fields of western North Dakota. And if we can break the puzzle on the Bakken and CO2, well, then we don't have enough CO2 available. There's going to be a great need for more CO2.
That's fascinating. And where do you store it? Like I know I saw in the article, I guess, that Amy mentioned something about scientists have some information about the geology in the area of central North Dakota because of 12 unsuccessful oil wells that were drilled in that area. I mean, when this is up and running, do you envision ultimately, well sites that no longer are producing oil or unsuccessful, or would you drill specifically to store carbon?
Oh, we would drill if we were to move forward into additional phases where in the future that there was actually CO2 to be stored in the subsurface, we would drill specialized wells just for that. And we would target a formation that's roughly a mile down, right around that 6,000 feet, 5,500 foot range. And that's called the Broome Creek Formation. It's a sandstone down there. And that's where we would target the storage of the CO2 in that coal country area.
And you cap it, and the CO2 is just down there, and because of the sandstone, doesn't do any damage to right. Water or anything else, right?
Well, way down there where the water right now in that formation is probably on the order of 5 or 6 times saltier than the ocean. And it's got a great cap rock on top of it, which will make sure that everything stays in place like we want it to. So, yeah, it looks to be that the geology aspect, which we're trying to gather data on right now, it's going to pan out very well in our minds. So we're really looking forward to the information that we pull out of those wells in the next couple of months.
I only have a minute for an answer on this question, but it's kind of the big question. Is this necessary? I mean, I love the idea of saying, hey, let's take CO2 and let's use it to enhance oil recovery. That's a no-brainer. But as far as the storage of the rest of it, is that a political move just to say that's what we're targeting coal against, or is it because we believe science does in fact say this carbon does damage to the environment?
It's a big question there. There's a lot of yeses on both sides of the equation there. Right now, the EERC is just going on the scientific aspect of it, not pursuing a political angle to answer that in one way or the other. We're pursuing on the scientific component of the question.
And it makes sense to do it that way because, honestly, it doesn't really matter. It is a politically charged debate. Some people believe it, and if you can solve it, the debate goes away, regardless of whether they were right or the other side was right. So it's a good approach.
We want to do it for the economic benefit of North Dakota. That's we wanted to make it good sense for our state and to keep our industries going strong.
We'll have you back again, Wes. Thanks for the update from the Energy and Environmental Research Center. Wes Peck, Principal Geologist there. Thanks, Wes. Appreciate it. More after this.